Reading order. Please.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
President Dom. Vice President Everard. Treasurer Gayton. Secretary Fritz. Trustee Thomas.
Here.
Trustee Zimmerman. Trustee Wazorek.
Here.
Conservation ethic goals that to foster a conservation ethic among McHenry County citizens, helping all of us, regardless of the basis of our interest in nature, to develop a greater awareness of our role in and responsibility for the total community. Conservation ethic asks us to assume a moral duty to become educated about conservation issues and then to act upon that information. The conservation ethic is an attitude that recognizes the preserving the natural heritage of the common open spaces. Goal number 4, to interpret and to promote the overall significance of natural and cultural resources and to promote public understanding and support of district land management.
Okay, thank you. Don, will you lead the pledge, please?
Sure. Conservation Stewardship Pledge. Pledge to make a difference by standing up for our water, wildlife, and way of life in McHenry County. Our quality of life in McHenry County depends on healthy and sustainable natural resources, thoughtfully developed cities and towns, a strong economy, and beautiful outdoor places to explore, discover, and recreate. Also. 5, we will work diligently to influence the health and well-being of our country.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have a motion about adopting the agenda. Second.
You gotta make the motion.
First, we have a second, Pat. You seconded to adopt the agenda. Roll call, please.
Secretary Fritz.
Yes.
Trustee Zimmerman.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yeah.
Vice President Everard.
Yes.
Trustee Wazorek.
Yes.
Treasurer Gayton.
Yeah.
President Dom.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. Pat, okay. John, will you help me?
Sure thing. Honored to introduce 2 employees that have been with the district for some while, one for a long time and another one fairly short with us, that have recently gotten promotions. I'll start with Dan Xavier has been promoted from officer to sergeant. That happened a few weeks ago. Dan was with the Crystal Lake Park District for 28 years. I'm sorry, Crystal Lake City PD for 28 years, and then 6 years with the Crystal Lake Park District as their chief. So he came to us about 2 years ago as an officer. And one of the things when we were looking for a replacement sergeant for Ryan, we noted that he had a lot of experience in accreditation. That's something the Conservation District Police Department just achieved. We thought he could help us with that, as well as has a great deal of experience in evidence management and whatnot. A couple of things that we thought that would be helpful in getting Ryan up and running as a new chief. So we welcome Dan. Thank you for and then Ryan has been around for, I think he said, quite a while. Ryan has been in the police department for 22 years. And prior to that, he was in the what was called the Land and Facilities Department. That was it's what operations is now. He worked as a maintenance employee for about 4 years. Been here for a long time. He rose up through the ranks started out as an intern with us, an assistant ranger, and then we were expanding the police department in about 2000. He came in as an officer for us, was an officer for numerous years, and then rose to the rank of sergeant, and then recently was promoted to the chief's position. So Ryan has many of us that have been here for a long time have watched Ryan grow into the role. So he was a logical choice for us when the chief's position became open. So welcome and good luck to you, Ryan. All right.
Congratulations. Didn't have a meeting.
Report on CCG, maybe. It's after last meeting.
I think you're right.
Well, it was the day after.
Yeah. No, you go ahead. I forgot already.
Yeah. Chris and I went to the MCCG meeting in Harvard. At it was the end of last month, it was year 2 of the board meeting.
Yeah.
Had a great time, what a beautiful facility they turned that into. Interesting to see. It was my first time really there, kind of exploring. One of the main discussion topics was the use of salting roads. That was very enlightening. I never even considered the damage that causes. And so, but it does sound like, you know, the district and some of the local bodies are onto it. They're just trying to get more, I think, public spaces involved and not using, you know, so much.
I believe we had 17 people go to some of the, so.
Yeah.
A bunch of them, yes. I think they all do it. It's called sensible salting, you know, basically very limited use. And we've been doing that for a long time. And hope that the streets and the roads people will follow suit with that. So we've been doing that for quite a while.
Hey.
Yeah, just we had that working group at with PPL, just nothing to report just yet, but we had a very good meeting. That was it's the one that our consultant is going to focus on in the front.
Yeah.
So just talking about the survey that they're going to do, trying to get some data. Still looking at recommending November, and real productive meeting, and we got 2 more meetings coming up before the launch survey.
Anybody else? John's not here. So public comments 1. Anybody out there?
There is none.
Thank you. We do the ordinance for the consent agenda. Secretary Fritz is welcome. Let's do that.
I'll try. Hey, well, I move, agenda number 12.1, approval of minutes of previous meetings. 12.1A, August 17th, 2023, committee of the whole, executive session. 12.1B, September 21st, 2023, committee of the whole. 12.1C, September 26th, 2023, regular meeting. 12.A, acceptance of the treasurer's report for September 30th, 2023 is presented. 12.2B, acceptance of the investment report fiscal year 2024, quarter number 2. 12.3, resolution number 23-80, authorizing the executive director to submit the 2023 community block grant application consent to McHenry County for an amount not to exceed $230,000 for blight removal at the Howells Conservation Area. 12.4, resolution number 23-81, awarding a contract for Shooting Star Native Seeds of Spring Grove, Minnesota, $138,234.63 Prairie Moon Nursery of Winona, Minnesota, 76,813.04. RES Great Lakes LLC of Broadhead, Wisconsin, 33,183.94. Spence Restoration Nurseries of Muncie, Indiana, 2544.60 for the purchase of native seed for a total cost not to exceed $273,676.21. 12.5, resolution number 23-82, adopting the McHenry County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan as approved by the McHenry County Board on September 19th, 2023. 12.6, resolution number 23-83, authorizing the executive director to execute a license agreement with the Cary Park District for the use of Felpro conservation area for summer day camp in 2024, 2025, and 2026. Number 12.7, resolution 23-84, authorizing the preparation and execution of an owner with jurisdiction concurrence letter as requested by the McHenry County Division of Transportation regarding the determination of de minimis impact of section 4F resource, Brookdale Conservation Area, Paulson Road over North Branch of the Kishwaukee River Project. 12.8, resolution 23-85, granting an owner with jurisdiction concurrence letter to the city of Marengo, determination of the minimus impact of section 4F resource for the home trail and trailhead Prospect Street reconstruction project. 12.9, resolution 23-86, authorizing the executive director to execute a site use agreement with the McHenry County Snowmobile Association, Huntley Penguins, and Marengo Snowgoers. 12.10, resolution 23-87, authorizing the execution of special use access application implement agreement pertaining to the Prairie Trail within Town Park in the village's installation of a water main under Crystal Lake. Crystal Creek. Oh, Crystal Creek, there it was on.
Okay. Got through it. Good. Go ahead.
I need a second.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Zimmerman,
Yes.
Secretary Fritz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wazorek,
Yeah.
Vice President Everard,
Yes.
Treasurer Gayton,
Yeah.
President Dom.
Okay.
Are there any items to be pulled from the list of
Not that I had, would you ever take
Yeah, I did. I pulled some last night. Yeah, CCG.
whatever you did, so it's not about the
It was late, so no,
Yeah.
I don't expect them to turn around that fast, but I did post some things.
Okay.
So those are important. And then
Okay, we'll be able to get it after.
consideration of a motion to approve the payment of bills as indicated on the submission of bills pending report for the month ending September 30th, 2023.
Second. Yeah,
Okay.
roll call please.
Vice President Everard,
Yeah.
Trustee Wazorek,
Yeah.
Secretary Fritz,
Yeah.
Treasurer Zimmerman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Trustee Zimmerman, Treasurer Gayton.
Yeah.
Promoted you. Trustee Thomas.
Yeah.
And President Dom.
Motion carries. 13.2, the second reading. Administrative policy procedure. And I believe a motion. Motion for that second. So. The third was passing ordinance 23-1028, ordinance amending the comprehensive administrative policy and procedure manual as presented. Okay, we got Seconded, go ahead and do roll.
Who is the second? Okay, and the first was Everard, correct? Okay. Trustee Thomas, Treasurer Gaten.
Yeah.
Secretary Fritz, Vice President Everard. Trustee Wazorek, Trustee Zimmerman, President Dom.
Dash 10.
Isn't there a presentation?
Coordination of these part of the Declaration of Development Restriction prepared to apply to portions of the foundation's Camp Florida property.
There's a small
Yeah,
presentation.
sure.
Val's gonna,
There,
Do you not have?
it's not working. I apologize. Here, it is not working.
Okay, so you're familiar with Camp Lakota, the property that the foundation has acquired for the district's future use. It's 120 acres addition to off Deep Cut Road. So, and you also recall that the board with, your consent, they entered into a carbon sequestration agreement with city forest credits. And part of that agreement called for a declaration of development restrictions, which would basically prohibit the cutting down of any trees except for whatever's necessary for some de minimis impact on it for nature trails or things like that, or the forest hill. On 90 acres out of the 120 acres. Within that 90 acres, so I had a plat prepared that shows it's actually carved out, actually 90 acres of this 120 acres that this restriction applies. It's a 40-year restriction. Within that 90 acres, 70 acres is tree canopy, which is, the subject of the carbon sequestration. So basically, this is a subordination of leasehold interest because part of the arrangements when the foundation acquired the property, the district to establish jurisdiction and its management procedures is leasing a triple net lease at zero sum, from the foundation just to establish our formal jurisdiction for policing and things like that. So there's a lease, and so this restriction we need to subordinate our leasehold interest for the recording of this document. So that's what this is all about. So this is the foundation has requested formally that the district subordinate that interest, and so that's what this is all about, for approval of that.
got it. Any questions on anything?
Pretty straightforward.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have that a motion on the floor. We got a second on that? I got a second. Second.
Okay. Trustee Zimmerman.
Yes.
Secretary Fritz.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wazorek. Vice President Everard.
Yes.
Treasurer Gaten.
Yes.
And President Dom.
All right. 13.4. John.
That's more up Andy's alley. He did talk briefly, I believe, last week about the changes. If you want to hear more about that, he can kind of recap that for you.
I think everybody's pretty much.
Price increases are
Yeah, we
relative to everywhere else, and the average cost is just to national averages. Right on.
Yeah, we pretty much. The first bit. Okay, so I entertain a motion for the resolution 23-88. Current employee health insurance plans with the intergovernmental governmental personnel benefit, but IPBC cost sharing unchanged for the period of January 1, 2024 to that year of December 31st.
So moved.
Wade, and seconded by Sean.
Okay.
Just put a clarification, that when it says the cost sharing unchanged, the percentages remain the same, but because the healthcare costs have gone up, the employee share was up just as the employment.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Trustee Wazorek.
Yes.
Vice President Everard.
Yes.
Trustee Zimmerman.
Yes.
Treasurer Gaten.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Secretary Fritz.
Yes.
President Dom.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Okay, just a few items just to update. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, in your packet, you had a variety of our quarterly updates. So the legislative update, down in Springfield, we're in veto session. We have 3 days this week. It started today. And then we'll follow up through November 7th through 9th. So we're tracking that, potentially some legislation assisting with some language on PTEL, a variety of other things that's being watched. We also, at the federal level, working to get a budget. There's been a lot of discussion. It's been in the news for the speaker, but hopefully will prevent a shutdown. And being that we're very close with our Hackmatack partners of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and National Park Service and many other agencies we depend on, hopefully that we'll get through that and we'll get a budget passed so that doesn't happen. As far as the just some general updates here, the McHenry County Conservation Foundation, they're holding their strategic planning meeting on November 6th, followed up by their board meeting on November 14th. On the November 8th date, Vice President Everard will be joining myself at the Economic Development Corporation dinner. And that should be a great event. That's something to celebrate with all of our business partners and to connect with them, and important for the foundation as well. And then also in your packet, if there were any questions relative to our strategic planning update, our project status, all that information is there. So I'm happy to entertain any questions that anyone may have. Is there any? Okay, and then we are scheduling those individual meetings with trustees for Trust for Public Land. So I should be getting something out. Just waiting on, spoke with our liaison, John Reinhardt, this afternoon. So he promised he would get back to me tomorrow. And then I am out, why I'm not there tonight, at the Midwest Climate Resilience Conference in Duluth, Minnesota, where colleagues from the Field Museum, the Nature Conservancy, the Peggy Notebart Museum, and myself as chair of the Alliance, we are speaking on our climate action plan for nature and the work that Chicago Wilderness Alliance is doing in this area. So conference begins tomorrow. And thank you, John, and everyone for holding things down while I'm gone. And that's all.
And you'll be back this week yet?
Well, I will be at a conference, and then next week we'll see here, but I will be back with meetings of sort. While I'm up north, I may end up taking some time off. We'll see.
Good, thank you. All right, committee assignments reports. There is a Ducks Unlimited event for I think Friday.
Okay.
Right? Am I right?
Correct.
Elizabeth?
It's Friday. It's Friday.
At the Lost Valley Visitors Center? I
No,
believe.
Ed, can you talk where it's at? It's at the Alden property, right?
Right, it starts at Lost Valley at 1, and then it moves over to the Alden Gap property, probably within 45 minutes.
Right. And it probably won't last.
No, I imagine it'll be over by 3 at the latest.
Yeah. I did call up. I'm gonna try to make that. So let's see there. Okay, any public comments?
One other committee,
Oh, go ahead.
next Tuesday, to try and wrap up the compensation aspect of, we've got the additional 58 jobs, I guess, that have been questioned.
Right.
And we'll take a look at what data has been collected since then and be able to make recommendations.
Okay. Then you're gonna make that recommendation to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
If I get anything miscellaneous that it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to discuss, but now we have time to do it.
Sure, even the public comments, yeah.
Yeah, just, I'm an active user of the path. And I was wondering if it was my imagination or but the, I was just discussing it with Linda. But when I was out over on Seaman Road, man, I had some electric bikes really looking past me. So I don't know if it was 20, 25, 30 miles an hour. So I actually stopped, and there are a couple of people I noticed when we were walking the path, and I asked one lady, it's my imagination, they really seem to be booking. She goes, oh my gosh, thank you so much for asking. I thought maybe it was my age, you know, she goes, they were really booking. Of course, people walk dogs, walk, you know, bikes, so I was just wondering if anybody else is, and it seems like it's more and more, so I live out and I get I'm kind of torn because it allows people to usually maybe go farther and get out and enjoy nature. But I'm just, the speeds, you know, are definitely increasing, so, and I don't have a solution, but I just wanted to bring awareness to the team.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know what policy is, if there's any speed limits or no
Yeah.
motorized vehicles on those trails.
Yeah,
but-
all bicycles, all bicycles are on McHenry County Conservation District trails. At least the regional trails that allow them can only go 15 miles an hour, whether it's an e-bike or not an
Oh,
e-bike.
there is an actual speed.
Yeah,
limit.
we do have a speed limit, and, excuse me?
Are they?
In some cases they are, but it's generally it's in our general use ordinance. That is the number that we use. Out there, we do not have, I can't go out and say they're placard, sign. There doesn't need to be, they don't necessarily need to be posted. However, to your point, there's a lot of chatter among the directors of operations out there and the police departments of the conservation district, forest preserve districts about e-bikes. They are starting to experience complaints. They're starting to see problems. And I just recently had I sent information over to Lake County Forest Preserve. I did a quick analysis, or I was working with Arturo and our police department to get what is everybody doing with e-bikes and whatnot, what are their updates, and most in general we're starting to see people update their policies. Our agency is updating a policy. That's one of the things that Ryan and I are working on specific to e-bikes. And it may actually come down to the perspective that we start restricting the classifications of e-bikes out there. Right now, there are 3 classifications. Actually, there are 4 classifications, 3 classifications. And one of the things that's driving the classifications is speed. A couple of those classifications can go 28 miles an hour. I say there's another classification, they're unclassified, and those things can go 60 miles an hour. I'm not kidding, they're out there. Yeah, they're out there. And so we're going to try to get our hands around it with an ordinance first. And then probably in some type of enforcement. In the conversation I had with Lake County, I think Kane County was in the conversation too. They're looking at doing the exact same thing. They're going to have to do a 2-phase approach. One is to identify that, you know, that there are some classifications of bikes that we might not want out there. And then we're going to have to do some enforcement to get people to adhere to it. From a personal perspective, I'm an avid cyclist. I've been riding trails for 30 years, and a presentation that I made last winter, I said I've had 4 close calls in my life with a head-on, and 3 of them occurred in the last couple of years, and all 3 of those were with e-bikes.
Yeah.
I don't think the problem is e-bikes. I think the problem is inexperienced riders on e-bikes. And so I think we're going to have to get into a situation where we're probably out there educating them. That seems to be the perspective being bounced around among people, as we are going to have to reach out to these folks who may not have been on a bike since they were 14 or 15 years old on these machines that can go 28 miles an hour. So I believe you're going to see some changes here.
Good. There's when you think it would be a good idea to maybe have us back on the agenda to revisit it and have an update.
Yeah, we could probably do it, I don't think next month would be, I think probably December we could get on the agenda.
We do believe that we'll be bringing back an ordinance for your review in December. If not, it may actually be November, but I think it's more likely to be December. And we will certainly highlight that for a discussion, because I think we're going to need you weigh in on it, because for lack of a better word, we're going to need you to probably defend the position the district is taking on these things, because you might hear it.
Thank you. And I just had one other, Chris, if I could. I was looking through some of the literature we were sent, there was the police report and all the activities and all the stops. And I believe there were 2 arrests. Is that something we would want to be aware of, or are we informed of not all the contacts that the conservation police come in contact with, but just the any arrests and any possible liabilities that could come out of the arrests?
That would be, Elizabeth, could you answer that?
I will, yeah, the information that trustee Wazorek, we show you the specific number of citations just so we track within our police department. If there's any specific questions that trustees have, I'm happy to answer those for you offline. Of course, if there's anything that requires of concern, we're very closely tied with our legal counsel as well as our risk management agency. But yeah, should there be something, not everything the board is going to be made aware of, just it becomes routine or every day, but always I would entertain a conversation, a phone call, as well as Director Kramer would, or our chief of police.
Yeah, and the rule of thumb that Elizabeth and I have established is, if it looks like it's going to be something that'll be newsworthy, you know, the chief calls me, I call Elizabeth. The chief is handling the field situation. Elizabeth and I are handling, making sure you all know, making sure legal counsel knows, making sure Perderma knows, all of those things. Those are typically the things that are going to come up that might get more attention. The routine arrests and things like that don't usually rise to that level. If they do, we do let you know. That's how, you know, and we have a pretty good track record. There was one time where I remember hearing from Elizabeth that trustees heard about something before we told them. It was early on in our relationship where shortly after she was here, and I was like, okay, that's probably one that we should have done that. So we have a pretty good track record in the last certainly 15 years of it, of making sure you guys know ahead of time.
Thank you. One thing, we have to be careful about too, though, is talking about it publicly. Sometimes she doesn't need to get minutes of meetings to correct that. So that, you know what I'm saying, like. Okay, anything else, right?
No. I'm gone.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, cool, good. Okay, if I can entertain a motion for adjournment, unless there's anything else you brought up, Elizabeth, and you have anything else?
You've got everything taken care of. We did not bring with you, I will just mention too, we had talked last month about the fallen outdoors, and if we could get the agreement and everything together, and we are still working on that. So we are hopeful that we can have something to present to you in November. Okay, but it just wasn't ready for this month.
And Paint Hustlers premieres on Netflix this weekend, so chance.
Saw that.
What is
Paint Hustlers.
Paint, and that's on
Netflix, Paint Hustlers. It's a movie starring Emily Blunt and Chris Evans. And it's about the sale of fentanyl. It's a movie.
Oh, interesting.
I watched too.
My son is a producer of that. You'll see my brother.
Nice.
Hey, check it out.
So now it's part of the public record.
That's Paint Hustlers.
Okay. We're good. That's good news.
I thought you were gonna say
Not me.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Okay. Treasurer Gayton,
Yes.
Trustee Zimmerman,
Yes.
Vice President Everard,
Yes.
Trustee Wazorek,
Yes.
Secretary Fritz.
Yeah.
Trustee Thomas
Yeah.
and President Dom.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Halloween.